Hello, and welcome to what is hopefully the first of many episodes of a new podcast that we're calling the Fantasy World of Motorsports. I'm calling it FWAM for short. I don't know if Billy appreciates that or not, but that's what we're going with. And hope you enjoy the episode. And if you have any feedback for us, we sure appreciate it. We'll plug our socials at the end. I don't know exactly how we're going about this yet. This is kind of like a rough draft combined with a test flight combined with a car crash, more than likely. So, hope you enjoy it, and I hope you get something from it. Thanks. Hello, everyone. Welcome to a podcast that me and my friend Billy are putting together. We're calling it the Fantasy World of Motorsports, where we talk about scenarios that did not happen at all, what would happen if those would happen, and sometimes we'll talk about some real sports too. Maybe.
Maybe.
And I'm joined by my friend.
I'm Billy. Big time NASCAR fan for my whole life. And that's about it.
Unfortunately, he's a Chase Elliott fan, but we can forgive him.
I'm still not over Bristol, but whatever.
Hey, man, we're not doing that podcast today.
Yeah, I think that it's best if we stray away from Bristol.
The Bristol race that I almost got assault charges for.
Yeah,
that's definitely a story for another day. But if you don't know me by now, which I'll be sharing this on my socials, name's Jay. I go by JJ Turnip on pretty much anything, and that's another story that I'm not telling today. But basically, what we're going to do is every week, or hopefully every week, we're going to talk about a topic about a what if, something that didn't happen, if things had just fallen just a little bit differently and something had happened, what the fallout would be from that. Well, not necessarily fallout, but like the effects of that and how it would change the landscape of the sport immediately following and into the future after that. So today we're going to talk about the 2012 Daytona 500, which, jet dryer. We are talking about the jet dryer, but we're not talking about Juan Pablo Montoya, who unfortunately broke under caution and hit a jet dryer, if you're not aware by now. And it burned a hole in the track, and it was under red flag for several hours, which isn't even the beginning of that story, because that was a Daytona 500 that was supposed to be on Sunday, was delayed to Monday, and ended up finishing like Monday morning, like 2 or 3 in the morning Eastern time.
Some could even argue Tuesday morning.
Yeah, Monday. Yeah, Tuesday morning. That would be. Yeah, that's wild. But I remember trying to stay up to watch that race and trying to sneak in every half hour to see if they'd gone back racing yet, and they absolutely had not. And I ended up getting 2 hours of sleep before school the next day, so that was awesome. But we're going to talk about what if they'd ended the race then, because if anyone doesn't know by now, when that red flag came out, Dave Blaney driving, well, I believe it was the Golden Corral car that weekend. I could be wrong, but Dave Blaney was leading that race. And there's nothing in the world that 16-year-old me wanted more than Dave Blaney to win the Daytona 500 driving for Tommy freaking Baldwin. So we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about what would happen if they called the race, if Blaney had won, and what the effects of that would have been. So I think we'll start with Billy first, because mine's more centered just on Blaney, and I believe his is more on the broader side of things.
Yeah, mine is very whole team, and that's my focus. That was always my focus, and that's but my first one I want to talk about, would it still be around today? Because it was around for a while, but would it still be around present day?
Like the race team as a whole, yeah?
Right. Tommy Baldwin Racing, 100%. The same exact team that they ran in 2012. In 2023, would it still be around?
What do you think about that? Do you think they'd be around?
I mean, if lucky, you got to get lucky more than once, I feel like, in NASCAR. And there's
I
no
mean,
way
how much
to,
did you get than a Daytona 500?
oh, well, I mean, yeah, you can't get much more lucky than that. It's just crazy that it took a crazy turn of events. Yeah. What you got?
So I think there's a very good possibility that they could be around today with that extra. At the time, it was probably a little bit more than it is now, but this is good because they were talking last week. Well, Denny Hamlin on his podcast and several others in that sphere were talking about how big of a swing it was for Ricky Stenhouse, who just won the Daytona 500 for a single car team, who's not known as being the most competitive team in the world, who's only had one other win ever. They said it was like a $3 million swing for them.
Yeah, I mean, winning the
And
Daytona 500 even today, and you don't see the purses aren't public to everybody. So
right, just the total amounts now, we actually got those back.
right, for the
But
longest
charter
time, those weren't
payouts and
public. Yeah,
yeah, but charter payouts aren't a thing. But I will say that I do agree with you that they could very well be around because that money could have kept them afloat in full time up until the charter agreement that we're currently under started. And I don't know if you remember, but I remember because I hate Rob Coffin with a passion. And if anybody doesn't know who he is, to give you the short of it, he was the guy that was like the investor behind MWR. And he's essentially what that Medallion Bank guy was to Richard Petty Motorsports. He kind of bankrolled everything. So after Spingate, the whole team started to fall apart. They were losing sponsors. They lost Napa and a whole bunch of stuff. And the team shut down. Well, he got the charter agreement passed so that he could recoup some of his investment because, as we all know, cars and tools are worth pennies on the dollar. So if they had survived until then, which honestly, they were running part-time then. They were still running part-time when the charter system came into play. And if they'd been running full-time, say they had some, I don't know, an extra $3-4 million plus the sponsors and attention that the 500 could potentially bring, they could absolutely have made it until the charter system came in. And then once they have a charter, I mean, look at Rick Ware and Premium and BK Racing. How long BK Racing held on just because they had charters? Dear
right.
Lord.
Yeah. It's probably for the best they're gone, honestly, now. But and Tommy Baldwin was involved with Premium until that died.
Yeah.
So
See, so when we were researching some of this stuff, my dumb self kind of mixed up Jay Robinson and Tommy Baldwin a little bit. Oops. But I did find that Tommy Baldwin was involved in Premium, which makes sense because he still wanted to race.
he could not afford to do that anymore.
No, he does really good. He does right. He does really good with the modifieds. He's really competitive there, and it's unfortunate because he's a Daytona 500 winning crew chief, and I think he's the right kind of person for NASCAR. Like when you think of like NASCAR and like the good old boys and what the sport was built on, so to speak, I think of people like Tommy Baldwin. I also think of people like Carl Long, but Carl Long had even less money than Tommy Baldwin, and so
yeah, he
and Carl Long, that's a different topic. I like Carl Long. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Right, and I was kind of just thinking, what would it be like with the Gen 7 car now, because it brought the competitiveness to about a level playing field for everybody, except for, Cody Ware. But
Well, that's Cody Ware.
yeah, right.
Nah, he's the GOAT. He's the best.
He is Cody Ware.
He's going to the 4-car next year. He's going to have Anheuser-Busch sponsorship, and he's going to kiss an anime waifu after he wins the Daytona 500.
Perfect. That's staying in.
I recorded an intro before this, how this was either going to be like a test run or a car crash.
Yes.
So that's staying in too. Fantastic. All right. So we're in agreement that let's just go with the same ballpark number. Let's say $3 to $4 million swing for that team could have got them through full time, along with like exposure and sponsors. Because was it 2010 that Jamie McMurray won?
Yeah, 2010.
Yeah, and he got the McDonald's sponsorship out of it because of his Victory Lane interview, which is fantastic.
Right.
I don't know how, when you're in that mental space, that you do a full McDonald's promo, but good for you, buddy.
Like the next year, they were talking about when he won, and they just said he cried in the car, and then he cried some more, and just the passion that Jamie had was why they do it.
I don't know. Jamie's so good at cutting a promo. I'd love to see him just like in an indie wrestling match just once. He's got the physique for it. That'd be fun.
He would do great. Just put him up against Hermie, and we're good to go.
WCW legend Hermie Zadler.
Exactly.
Oh gosh, yeah. I don't know. The crazy the thing that makes it real feasible is that whole charter agreement, because I mean we already said, we seen what BK Racing was able to do to hold on for basically ever. God, it felt like forever. I don't know. I feel like Tommy Baldwin's the kind of person you want to be in a back marker charter car that can build up slowly.
Right. And part of me feels like, BK, one day it's just going to be like, yeah, we were never actually really gone. We're still here.
We were hiding in the shadows.
Right. They were actually Rick Ware.
Oh, God.
That would be awful. And the guy's in jail now, probably, right?
I don't think he's in jail. I think he just got sued into bankruptcy. He isn't like the DC Solar guy that sold a bunch of GPS trackers as solar batteries or whatever. It wasn't a full-on Ponzi scheme. It was just a regular scam.
It was just good old fraud. good old fraud.
Yeah, just regular old fraud. Just good old American capitalism fraud.
Right.
So, okay, we can spend a whole day talking about back markers in the 2010s.
Quite literally, yeah.
I know so much about them, and I wish I didn't. And people wonder why I don't like back markers. Well, that's why.
Except for Cody Ware, he's the GOAT.
Well, yeah, he's the best ever. He's getting the 4-car. We already established that. That's canon.
Yeah, we already talked about
this. This is the fantasy world, but we're talking about the real world.
This is the real world we were talking about.
I mean, he finished top 15 in the Daytona 500. He started 11th at Fontana. He's starting out pretty hot.
Right. And he had a top 5 in the Daytona race in August. So, I mean...
The one where literally everyone just drove into the corner and just...
The specifics are not important, Jay.
Right. The circumstances don't matter. All that matters is he survived.
Right. Exactly. He's the GOAT. Moving on.
less. All right. So I want to talk about Dave Blaney specifically because I got a really good theory, a working theory that I feel like it's going to blow your mind a little bit because I told you that I wasn't alluding to everything before we started recording.
I'm
But
kind of scared to be
it's
completely honest.
not that bad.
But, you know.
It's not that bad. It I think it puts a neat little bow on things. So in this universe, Dave Blaney wins the Daytona 500 after they decide that it's not worth fixing the track. Everyone needs to go home so they can get ready for the next week. It's already Monday night. They want to go home.
Tuesday morning.
Tuesday morning. I'm not sure exactly when the red flag happened. I want to say it was like a little before midnight, but I don't remember. So no one quote me on that.
That race was moving at historic rate.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was
truly.
It was so fast. It was like I blinked and it was like lap 125.
But yeah, the race was well past halfway when this happened. So let's just say
Like
in this universe. Yeah, there wasn't hardly any race left. Yeah, that's right.
There was no reason to keep this going. I mean,
the only reason they kept it going is because they didn't want Dave Blaney to win that Tommy Baldwin car. No, that's not the only reason. I know why they actually did it. I'm going to put my tinfoil hat away. Also, we're talking about the situation where they made the right call. So, anywho,
right.
Let's just say that not only did Montoya hit a jet dryer and burn the whole track, it started raining because it had been raining all week. That was the whole reason the race was on Monday. So let's just say it starts
for the caution that they were under when JPM hit
that's right. So let's just say it starts raining, and they lost the track. They call over the tower and like we've lost turn 4 or whatever. So now we have a hole in the track. It's raining. Everybody wants to go home. We're done. Dave Blaney wins. Congratulations, Dave Blaney. So I think that the rest of Blaney's 2012 goes exactly the same until July, when just before the return to Daytona and the Coke Zero, I think it was just the Coke Zero 400 at the time. I don't think it was called like the Coke Zero Sugar or anything.
Was it Coke yet, or was it still Pepsi?
It was Coke yet. It was Coke then.
Okay.
So, the Daytona race, AJ Allmendinger tests positive for a stimulant and is ineligible to race at Daytona. Instead of calling Sam Hornish to arrive 9 minutes before the race, Roger calls up the Daytona 500 winning driver, Dave Blaney. And he takes the 22 car to a top 10. And because of that, instead of putting the inexperienced Hornish in the car for the rest of the year, which is what happened in, reality,
right.
But Dave Blaney in the car. And I'm not going to say he lit the world on fire. I think most of the resources at that point went to Brad anyway, because Brad won a championship run the same year. Right. It was also the last year that Penske ran Dodges because they were going to Ford in 2013. So this was the swan song for Dodge.
Yeah, but that wasn't known yet, was it? Because
yes.
Dodge was still. It was.
No, that was known then. I found a report from mid-season, and one of the top 10 things were Dinger's positive test, and Penske had announced that they were going to Ford, and Dodge did not have a anchor team.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I thought that this was like
this was mid-season. I know, okay. Crazy.
Yeah, I always thought it was a decision because Dodge decided not to come back, but that was the reason.
Dodge was going to come back until they didn't have anybody to come back with. There was actually a 2013.
Right, there was a Gen 6 car on the Dodge.
Yeah, they built a Gen 6 and everything.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, but anywho, so let's just say for the rest of 2012, Blaney's in the 22 instead of the Tommy Baldwin car because Penske is impressed by his Daytona run and wants him to stay there. Also, at this time, his son Ryan was making starts in the Xfinity Series for Penske.
Yeah,
like this 2012 to 2013 or something area. Blaney never ran very many races in Xfinity, but he did run the full truck season for Brad Keselowski in 2013. So
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. So in my reality, after running the rest of 2012, Logano still gets a seat. Nothing crazy happens. Blaney gets a couple, 3 or 4 top 10s, and let's say a top 5 at the fall at Talladega or something, because plate races were always his forte.
Right. Yeah.
And there's nothing that I've seen that proves that Blaney at that point of his career, being 50 years old, was in any position to compete. And also the resources going to Brad's car, which they clearly did anyway, if you saw how Horner drove in that damn thing.
That was a lot of Sam Hornish too, but
well, yeah, but also I'm sure that they just were trying to push Brad through because Brad gave him a chance to win a championship. So I'm sure they poured resources more into the 2 car than the 22.
Yeah.
I'm sure, and I'm going to leave that all the same. But I'm going to say that in 2013, instead of being relegated to just running the full slate for Tommy Baldwin, Roger gives him a handful of the Xfinity races, the ones that he split between Blaney and Brad and Joey. Because at the time, the 22 was the all-star car. Well, what we would know now as an all-star car.
Right, yeah. At that point, Joey was far from an all-star, but...
Well, Joey just got fired by Joe Gibbs, so...
Everybody gets fired by Joe Gibbs.
Not his son, Ty Gibbs. We'll touch back to that in a second. But anyhow, I have it down for 2013 that Blaney makes about 5 or 6 starts. I'm going to say he does all the plate races in Xfinity. Let's just keep playing to his strengths, because he was always a really good player.
Ryan.
Yeah, Dave.
Ryan is absolutely in this car in real life. So
yeah, Ryan got 3 starts in 2013. I looked it up.
Right. So
we're good. So those aren't affected in this fantasy that we're building. But I will say that on top of his Xfinity starts, Roger funds the Tommy Baldwin car for the Daytona 500. Now, I'm just going to say he gets caught up in a late wreck, because I think that's what happened in 2013 anyway. But he was running near the front all day. So he does the plate races in the Xfinity Series and the 22 for Penske. And I say that in this reality, he gets redemption to prove it's not a fluke that he won a Daytona 500 under red flag. And he wins the July Daytona Xfinity race. It's kind of a nightcap of sorts on his career that we really never really got to see what he could do, because he never really had the best equipment. Going from Bill Davis to the Jasper 77, back to Bill Davis to Tommy Baldwin.
Yeah, absolutely. He was a journeyman. A lot of people forget how many rides he truly had in his career.
Well, I think that he's criminally underrated. I'm so glad that Ryan's got opportunities to prove that, I don't think I would put Ryan like a peg below a Corey LaJoie as far as writing his name into the sport. Because Corey's dad was legendary in the Xfinity Series.
Yeah, I always forget about that. Like, nobody really talks about him.
Yeah, Randy LaJoy was downright dominant for a stretch. And,
He really was, yeah.
you know, I love Corey. I think he plays the oh, woe is me a little too much. But I would put him a peg above Ryan Blaney as far as riding his dad's coattails. Just because Dave never got an opportunity close to what Randy had. Although I think that he could have been just as good, if not better, if given the chance and good equipment. Which is the reason why I put him in a Penske car.
Right, yeah. I mean,
So
it's just shame he didn't get the opportunities
he should have got.
he earned. Right. He was a wheelman, for sure.
I mean, just see what he's still doing in sprint cars up in Northeast Ohio. I don't want to say sprint cars. I don't know if it's sprint cars or dirt modified or what he runs or he runs both. But whatever he's running up there, he's running extremely well. They don't call him the Buckeye Bullet for nothing.
Yeah, he's still going fast. I mean, just as fast as anybody should be. That, however old he is at this point.
He's born in 62, so he's 61, about to be 61.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy. Everyone's old.
Yeah, I mean, time is a circle.
Never stops. All right. So now that we've covered our topic with varying degrees of success, so now we'll talk about the NASCAR season so far, and then we'll make our predictions for all the racing happening this weekend with varying degrees of expertise, including F1 and IndyCar. I feel like F1 is going to be a pretty short topic because it's obvious, and IndyCar is going to be pretty short because we don't know as much about IndyCar, but that's fine.
No,
We're learning. We're learning. So let's start with Speed Weeks, Daytona, and before we talk about the Cup Series, and I think we'll touch on the duels a little bit, but let's talk about that truck race.
Oh, brother, where do we start? I mean,
Well,
obviously at the beginning.
No, I don't think I honestly thought the truck race was some of the best racing of the weekend when they could race.
Right? Yeah, they were fighting the weather so bad that night, and
they just could not win against that mist. And I don't think that's anyone's fault. Like, the NASCAR did everything they could to try to get that race in. They really did.
Right. And at one point, you just gotta be like, we have 2 races tomorrow. The 500s on Sunday. We're not pushing this back any further.
That's right. Oh, we got to talk about the ARCA race.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're going to make the truck race really short because honestly, it was some great action. I can't tell you much of what happened because it just it was broken up so much, not by anyone's fault, that it just kind of feels disjointed. I don't know how you feel about that. That's how I feel about it.
It was it was like being there during a rain delay. You're just like, oh my gosh, are we going to go back racing? Can it just end already?
Like, what are we doing?
Right.
But
just go home.
Congrats to Zane Smith. You know, good for him. He repeats at Daytona,
right,
in a really strong truck, and I was really hoping that Corey LaJoy would pull one out for us, but he decided not to pit, so he didn't have any tires, so they didn't work. So R.I.P. Corey LaJoy. Outside of that, I cannot tell you anything that happened. I think there might have been a few cautions, but good job for Zane. We'll touch on the ARCA race real quick. The ARCA race was actually
one thing.
Oh,
I want to point out one thing.
Yeah,
Haley Deegan's luck is still so terrible, even in a Ford.
That's right.
Even with Ford Sport, yeah.
Dude, she ran so good. She ran a perfect first stage.
She really did. She
Like
was
she ran a perfect first stage, and then she got stuck on pit road and immediately got wrecked.
right. She was up there with Corey, with Chase, with Raja.
Acting was
They
awful.
they
Like
were they were
she was
going.
top 10. She was doing exactly what she was supposed to do.
Right. She just has the worst luck currently.
Like the absolute worst.
Right. I
I
just
hope she rebounds at Vegas. She ran really good at Vegas in the Xfinity car last year. She has a team that actually believes in her, that actually gives her equipment that's worth a shit. Sorry, but it is what it is. I believe in ThorSport a lot more to give her good trucks than I do let's just say the former team.
right. We won't give them the time of
I'm
day.
not even going to say their names ain't worth it. No, but seriously, I hope she does well. We'll talk about her a little bit more when we talk about our predictions, I'm sure. But the ARCA race. I know the ARCA race doesn't get nearly as much attention because ARCA as a whole is kind of,
Meh.
yeah.
Meh.
I mean,
It's fun to watch. I mean, don't get me wrong. I thoroughly enjoyed the race at Daytona. I thought they did
yeah,
way better than they had any right to do.
other than people making ARCA mistakes and the fact that guy that got drove into the wall couldn't get out of his car, I thought it was really good. And I don't know if he should be in a car if he can't get out of one, like he clearly struggled to.
And the temper tantrum he threw after.
Perfect. I don't know. They need those they need those old man door handles from the SRX series. To like open the top part of the door out so the bigger and older guys can get in and out easy.
The Paul Tracy door. Paul Tracy?
God bless.
Paul Tracy door.
Tracy. Anyway, Frankie Muniz was in the race.
I feel like I still don't feel like that's real. I mean,
I know, and like, what reality are we living in? The dude ran really good for his first ARCA race at Daytona.
Austin Cindric could not wait to use the Malcolm in the Middle joke.
Yeah.
He used it too much.
Yeah,
he relied on that joke.
I don't blame him. He grew up with it like we did. So,
right. I mean,
I will say though, him, Jamie Little, and Phil Parsons, probably my second favorite booth of the weekend.
I agree with you.
I don't know if Jamie Little's ready to be anything above the lap by lap person for ARCA yet, but she's definitely getting there.
Right, and there's nothing. That's not a dig at Jamie Little either.
No, I think she's doing fantastic.
At what she does.
But I think that they're gearing her up to take over the Truck Series next year, and I really hope they do. Which I love Adam Alexander. I really do. I think him plus whoever in the Xfinity booth is the best booth of the weekend every weekend.
Right, without fail. No matter who the other two people are.
I really want Jamie Little to get an opportunity in something that isn't ARCA because it's so hard to make ARCA sound interesting sometimes.
Right, yeah.
Which Daytona was good, so she didn't have any trouble there. And the racing was good overall. And congrats to Greg Van Elst for being the little guy and going up against Venturi and everyone, the actual factory teams, and winning the Daytona ARCA race. That's awesome. I'm happy for him. I'm happy with that whole team, and I hope it
Sorry.
You're good?
Okay. Go finish what you were saying.
Oh, okay. I think that, I hope rather that it gives that team some momentum because from my understanding, they're running the full ARCA slate, so maybe they can go compete for a championship. I don't know what kind of speed they'll have on intermediates or anything, but I'm hoping that it gives them some momentum going forward.
Right. And he didn't luck into the win at all. He was up there.
No, he was up front for at least the second half of that race.
Yeah, he was buying time in the back. And then once the second half started, he was
Now he
whether
once that
they're
second half started, he was either bringing home the trophy or the steering wheel, to use his own words. And
right.
that's great.
Yeah.
Great for him. So let's talk about Xfinity and the biggest choke job that I've ever seen in my whole damn life.
How did they mess this up? I don't get it. They were
Listen,
running 2, 3, 4, 5.
like I listened to the Dale Jr. download, or at least the Dirty Air, where they recap the Daytona weekend, and he talked about it, and he said that he doesn't give any team orders, which I get that, but I agree with what he said, that he should have gone on the horn of like 10 laps ago, be like, hey guys, we're running 2 through 5. Realize what we're doing here.
Right. And it's not like Austin Hill had any friends either.
No, it was 4 JRM cars, and then it was Toyota.
Right. And
They're not going
the
to help
Toyotas
him.
are going to do whatever the hell they want.
Toyota isn't
John
going to help
Nemechek
Austin
and
Hill.
the other guy, whoever was in the 19.
Joe Graff.
Was it Joe Graf?
It was Joe Graff Jr.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Which I don't like the dude. Full disclosure. Both races he's ran this year, he's done exactly what he's supposed to do. He's kept the car clean. He's ran around the top 10, which for that car is kind of underperforming. But the important thing is he's not getting caught up in wrecks. So he's not trashing equipment. So good for him. Anyway.
Good for him, I guess.
Yeah, good for him. I don't like him, but I'm happy for him. But anyway,
and then
back to that finish.
Josh Berry runs out of gas.
How do you run out of gas?
You were second in line. It's not like you were leading the line.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but like, you gain a second on pit entry. A second on pit entry. You could have put an extra half second of fuel in the thing.
It doesn't take that much, I promise you.
like, come on, man. Then that overtime finish was pretty good. I mean, it's Daytona, and once they hit that, I feel like this is an analogy I use. I don't know if it's an analogy a lot of people use, but you put a bunch of adults in these 150-degree hot boxes for 2 hours, 3 hours, however long the race is, and once that overtime hits, they just lose their minds.
Yeah, without fail, every single time.
I don't know if it's the heat. I don't know if it's like, oh boy, checker flag. I don't know what it is, but they lose their mind. And I'm going to say this, and I don't know how you feel about it. I really wish Sam Mayer would have won.
I agree.
He sent it. He sent it. Like, if he could have just got just in front of that 21 and he would have been in victory lane instead of upside down to the backstretch.
Right. Exactly. He also ran well the next week. We'll get to that later, but
yeah,
he's setting up for a good season, I think.
Yeah, but again, just like the truck race, we had a repeat winner from last year. Good job, Austin Hill. You outsmarted the entirety of JRM.
Which really isn't all that hard.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, Ty Gibbs just did it in Phoenix. So, I mean, can't be that hard, right?
Right. Yeah, I mean.
But anywho, let's talk about the Daytona 500 and however many miles they ended up running.
I have a very different perspective on this race.
Oh, yeah. So I watched the broadcast, which, as anyone who's actually listening to this would know, was lackluster. Yeah. Billy here was at the race, so right. He had to see it in person.
No commercials at all. But I saw the cars.
You sure they didn't like fly a Wendy's banner past the stands or something?
No, they definitely did not do that. But at one point, they threw an ad on the big screens, and they were on the back stretch of the point. I was like, why? But
they did try to blow your eardrums out.
Yeah, no. Literally insane. I thought I was going to die. I felt my chest cave in. With that,
Yeah, the flyover was a little bit close, wasn't it?
yeah, he full sent that, and
He knew
I
exactly what he
felt
was
my
doing.
chest just cave in.
Chest gave in, life flashed before your eyes.
Right. But the race there was one of the better Daytona 500 I've seen in person. Um, it wasn't last year's. Last year's was just really, really good. But luckily, it wasn't 2021 where they got in line and then wrecked on the last lap. And Dave Blaney 2.0 locked out. You got anything on the Daytona 500?
So I watched it on TV, and everyone wants to complain about the commercials. I don't really care about the commercials. I think they front loaded the broadcast, which they got to pay their bills. Whatever. I don't care. They just did not cover the race very well. So
I feel like that's been a recurring thing since CB joined the booth. But that's a
well, I don't know. I feel like they go too far in one direction with the booth, and then they go too far in the other direction as sort of like a reactionary to like people's reactions. So you either get an over-the-top, overreactive booth that's non-serious, or you get a way too serious booth that's lackluster. I feel like that's what we're...
And no offense to Tony Stewart at all, but he's just not adding anything for me. He had one good call at Coda, but that's about it for me.
I like him as a straight man, but I can see your point. I don't know. I think that the problem that Fox as a whole is having is
they're going for comedy. They're getting closer to the mark
they're
they want
trying
hit,
to appeal to the bottom of the barrel TV watcher.
Yep.
So the same people that will sit there and watch CBS midday Sundays during the football season say, Tony Romo's the best announcer ever. Oh my gosh, I can't believe how great he is when he gargles the nuts of Patrick Mahomes. Those are the people that Fox is trying to appeal to. And I'm sorry, maybe I'm in the minority, but I feel like the majority of people who watch NASCAR races on broadcast are people who've seen a race before.
Right.
Who understand, they might understand what every adjustment means. Like I can't tell you for the life of me, unless I really sit down and think about it, if the track bar going up means the car gets tighter or the car gets looser. I think it's tighter. But regardless, I understand the basics of racing.
Okay? Right. And you make the
mean...
argument that it was just the Daytona 500, but it was just as bad at Auto Club, the commentary. Because the Daytona 500 has a different crowd than every other race. But the commentary was identical at Auto Club.
So you can speak better to Auto Club than me, because I'll be completely honest, I slept until that restart wreck happened.
Right.
So I missed the first 80. I missed the first half of the broadcast, basically. And I haven't gone back and rewatched it because, honestly, I don't really care.
Right.
I know that sounds bad. Like, we're supposed to be these big... Like, NASCAR is one of my favorite things to watch, and I just cannot be bothered to go back and watch that.
So you're meaning to tell me that you missed Ross Chastain's interview after he won the first stage?
I saw the clip of it on TikTok. Does that count?
I mean, yeah, you saw it, but you
oh man, don't call me.
I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah. Okay, that was pretty. Like, they have their moments, right?
Right.
like where everything clicks, and it's overall pretty entertaining.
Right.
But
And
like
at the end of the day,
They're cutting to a commercial as soon as the last car leaves pit road from green flag stops, and it's like, can't we wait 2 laps?
didn't we just say a commercial before green flag stops started?
Well, I'm not. It's not even the amount of commercials or the frequency. Let me see some of the only on-track action I'm going to see, because, like, Dale Jr. said this, and I feel like, especially like in hindsight, it makes more sense. But the cars being locked 2 by 2 is no different than them riding on the wall single file.
Right. Yeah. It's
With this car, because with this car, it's so hard. It's impossible to have a third lane at Daytona, which tells me that it's a bad super speedway package. But regardless,
they went full in on trying to fix intermediates.
well, the intermediates are great now, but super
Right.
speedways and short tracks suck. I don't know.
The outpour of support for the 2018-ish package of super speedway to come back has been insane. I don't know if you've seen it on Twitter, but I absolutely agree with them. They need to bring back that specific package for super speedways.
The problem that you run into, and I understand that they're in a box, I really do, because they're trying to cut costs wherever they can. And like me, as like a person who understands like logic and reasoning, is like, yeah, that makes sense. But me as a person that wants to see like a good product is like, man, just add like 15 horsepower and like make it where they actually get runs and can run 3 wide. Because
That doesn't seem like too much to ask for, I don't think.
Well, the cars themselves are, in theory, perfect. They're not yawed. Well, they had some yaw to them at Daytona. I don't know if you could, how much you probably see better than me from the stands. That they had some yaw to them.
Yeah, they absolutely did.
So
teams are getting creative with it.
Now they're not crab walking like they were last year at the test.
No, not at all. They are,
but they definitely got some yaw to them.
Right.
But if you could get rid of that yaw and make the cars where they're running straight down the straightaways like they're supposed to. And I know they're running just at the edge of too fast as it is. But if you can make it where I'm not like an engineer. I can't tell you the answer. But you need to make it where they can run 3 wide and the runs actually like can carry on their own without someone pushing you halfway around the track.
Yeah, they need to go back to the drawing board a little bit.
We need something. I mean, put Dale Jr. out there with like fucking 3 of his buddies and give him a 30-pack of whatever, but like Budweiser Zero or whatever the hell he drinks now, and just tell him to let us know what to do to fix it. You know,
right? I mean,
that's not actually a solution. Do not actually give Dale Jr. alcohol and put him on Daytona's eye banks, please.
Yeah, they need to listen to the drivers more.
Well, they need to listen to the drivers more, but they also need to, I don't know, man. It just, there's so much, especially in like super speedway racing, that comes down to like manufacturers say so, like team orders and everything on top of all the regular bullshit.
Right. Yeah. I was actually shocked about when they did their pit stops as manufacturer groups, how quickly they all got back together, even on the last stop of the day.
I don't know how much you noticed watching in person, but until he got shuffled out of the top of the pack, Harvick was pitting with the Toyotas.
He was, yeah. He was,
and that was awesome because I think outside of the last run of the race, like before like the caution fest started,
Yeah.
I think Toyotas were the most organized group all day.
Right.
All
If only
seven
there
of
were
them.
more of them. I mean,
Imagine if we had 12 Toyotas out there. They would have won the race by half a lap.
and
Other than Truex putting Bub on the wall for no reason, but
and
and
that's gonna bring
Pastrana missing pit road completely, but it's fine.
Yeah, he did do that. I watched him do that, and then
Hey, he led a lap in the Daytona 500.
He full sent it into pit road the next lap. He was like 15 over the limit.
He's fine. He got it down. He got it down and done. It's fine. But so I think the first two stages were really good for what we have. And I think the last stage was pretty good. I really wish that we could have seen how the strategy played out with RFK and RCR and the few other people that were up there in the mix in the front, because what were they stretched out at that point before Suarez spun?
Yes, they were. I was actually about to say, people want to talk about how Kyle Busch got screwed out of that Daytona 500. Harrison Burton was in the best spot all day. With 8 to go, he was being pushed in a 4-car group because everybody got shuffled around because Ty Gibbs hit the wall, and there was a 4-car group. It was before Harvick, after Harvick, at the wreck.
Yeah.
I don't know when that happened. I think that was the wreck that caused.
Yeah, Harvick was a pusher at that point.
Right. But they were all split up at that point. There was the 4, and then everybody else was behind those 4. Harrison Burton was on his way to winning. Of course, he had Joey Logano, who's a super speedway snake, but
Yeah.
But he was in the best position.
So the caution comes out with, I think it was 8 or 9 to go. It was one of the two, but less than 10 laps to go. It was a merited caution. I'm not going to say it wasn't, because I saw that on Twitter this week. They were showing a clip of Kurt Busch spinning out and like not getting stuck in the grass, but the whole pack was together in that race. It's not comparable, in my opinion. Suarez got stuck in the grass. The field is very spread out, and it needed to be a caution.
Also, earlier in the race, I don't know if it was shown on the broadcast because sometimes Fox is going into 3. When the caution came out for Blaney's blown tire debris, Alex Bowman was spinning out of control.
Was he? I don't remember.
He was spinning out in 3, and then 2 seconds later they called the caution, debris on the track, and I'm like, there's a guy spinning in turn 3.
I'm not going to say they didn't show it, but I don't remember it. I know he got some damage, and he had to pit 3 or 4 times.
Right. Yeah.
They did talk about it, so I'm not going to say they didn't cover it. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt because I don't remember, because my memory is like that of a goldfish. But I don't know. Anyway, they re-rack. And I don't know I want to ask you this. What was the crowd reaction when the 8 chose the outside and the 3 chose the inside?
Everybody around me personally was like, what the hell is he doing? That makes no sense. But then Austin Dillon has a Chevy behind him. I don't remember who it was. But me being crazy fan, I was like, oh, Kyle Busch is just going to get a good launch and he's going to jump over. It was Stenhouse behind Dillon. And all 3 of them were going to work together. And I was like, oh, yeah, he's just going to get over. And then without fault, he got right over. I was like, boom, I told you. But everybody's reaction to it was like, what is he doing?
See, so I get it. I get the move. If this was the Gen 6, it probably would have worked.
Absolutely.
But it takes so long to build a run in these cars that they should have lined up on the outside together.
Right. There was absolutely no reason why. That run until the caution came out, I was like, going into turn 3, Dylan's gonna make the move. He's gonna screw up Kyle Busch, and he's gonna take the win for himself because he's Austin Dillon.
Were you able to see what happened on that after that restart? I know it happened in the backstretch, but were you able to see what happened?
The final restart?
The penultimate, the one before the last one.
Okay, so
after they lined up side by side, and Kyle dropped down in front of him, even though the whole outside line was ready for it. Did you see what happened to bring out that last caution?
I don't recall.
Okay,
but
so
that doesn't mean I didn't see it.
Okay, so if I remember right, the Chevy behind Dylan was Byron.
You're absolutely right. It was Byron, not the Stenhouse.
Well, it's fine. So the way I remember this was they were coming down the backstretch after they'd hooked up on the bottom, and Byron gave Dylan too big of a push. Straight up, just too big of a push in the wrong spot, and Dylan had two choices in that moment. It was either drive through Kyle Busch and wreck him or wreck himself. And he wrecked himself. I don't know if that was intentional or if he just lost control, but he did everything he could to not run into Kyle.
Right. Kyle Busch isn't really the guy you want to mess with like that, but I get why he did that.
I think, and this might just be me, and I know everyone's going to. Well, I heard on Door Bumper Clear this week that the whole, I'm happy for my teammate doing good only lasts so long. I genuinely think Austin Dillon wants Kyle Busch to succeed as much as possible.
Right. I
genuinely think that.
I truly believe that he is way more involved in day-to-day than we are let in on.
That's what I'm thinking, because Kyle said that Dylan basically brokered the deal. And I think that Dylan is transitioning the more of a role like Denny has, 11.
But with the same team that he's running with.
Right, but like 2311 isn't JGR cars. Okay, we can both agree on that. 2311 and JGR cars are different.
100%, yeah.
But
did you see how Ty Gibbs was running last year? I mean, of course he was focused on the other series, but
I don't want to talk. Yeah, but yeah. Anyway, but JGR has their cars. 2311 has their cars. They use some of the equipment at JGR until they have their actual shop built. Okay, whatever. But I think the role that Denny serves at 2311 right now is the one that Austin is starting to do at RCR. I don't know how much he works with the sponsors and stuff. I'm sure Denny has people for that. So it makes sense that Austin and Richard have people for that.
Right, yeah.
But go ahead.
Oh, no, I don't know anything.
Okay.
It was go ahead.
But there's been a couple people change pretty significantly from last year to this year. And if you pay attention, you can start to see it with Dylan around the time that Kyle Busch to RCR was announced. He's obviously still a driver, first and foremost. And he's a pretty decent one of that. Don't get me wrong. He's not a world beater.
No. Not even close. But
he's like a B-minus driver. But
he absolutely deserves to be where he is, in
yeah,
my
I
opinion.
think he absolutely deserves exactly where he is to be in the second RCR car.
Right. Not to be in the first like he was last year.
I don't think he wants it. Because clearly him being in the first car didn't produce results. And I mean, that could be the pressure, that could be where the equipment was at the time, but him in the number one RCR car is no longer a fruitful venture for him or the company.
Right. He understands that, which is perfect, because
I think that's great. And he has run really well so far this year. Very small sample size, obviously. But I think that he's accepted his role as it is. And I think we'll see more of it as we go. And I don't see him stepping on the car for a while because I think he just enjoys racing.
He's got plenty of time left.
Well, yes, and also maybe not, because I could see him. I can see him step aside if the right person were to come into the fold.
I mean, yeah, he's able to get another Kyle Busch-esque driver.
Well,
like
that excuse me. This may be the hot take of this, but if they could somehow get like a Noah Gragson away from Legacy Motor Club,
yeah,
say not like next year.
Christopher Bell's future is kind of up in the air because
no, I don't think it is, honestly. He is the future of TRD. They've invested.
Now, if Joe Gibbs has anything to say about it.
Well, it's not even Joe Gibbs that has anything to say about it. It's TRD, because they already lost Kyle. Truex is retiring. Denny's got 5 years left at most if he resigns. They've invested.
Right. It's not like he's leaving Toyota either.
Right. But they've invested so much money into Bell. Yeah, I would argue it's tens of millions.
Right. But they have someone similar to that in John Hunter.
John Hunter isn't a Toyota guy.
Absolutely is a Toyota guy. He would have went
He is now.
With Kyle to KBM.
Yeah.
If he wasn't a Toyota guy.
I like John Hunter. I really do. And we've gone on such a tangent. We're still in the 500 week. But yeah, let me say this about John Hunter, and then we can talk about Fontana. Okay? Yeah. And then we can talk about more stuff after. But John Hunter tried to make his way through up on his own, because basically the way I understand it, and there could be more to this, but long story short, his dad was running out of money.
Right.
Okay, Nemco was running out of money because they were trying to run a competitive truck team. So he took the opportunities he could. He ended up at front row for a year, and that didn't go very well.
That happened.
Yeah, to his credit, I think that most of his problem was trying to overdrive the equipment that he had.
Absolutely.
I think he did very well given his circumstances. But he took a chance because the team had picked up his option. I don't know if you know this, but the team had picked up his option for the second year, and he asked to be let out of it so he could go race trucks. And that's when he signed with Toyota. So he's only been a Toyota guy for this is his third year, which I believe he is part of their future plans. I do. I think that next year, if Denny resigns, we're looking at a JGR lineup of Hamlin, John Hunter Nemechek, Gibbs, and Bell. That's what I think we're looking at. And then I think that they're going to give Sammy Smith 2 to 3 years to marinate because he needs it. He desperately needs it.
He's not mature enough to move up. Not yet.
I don't think it's a maturity thing. I think he's fine. Like, I mean, some of the ARCA stuff last year, that was a bit immature. But, like, in general, he's very talented. But he needs to learn how to put a race together. And
Yeah, you
I
can't
think
win it with 20 to go.
well,
You just can't.
I think that's the perfect bridge in the Fontana because we can talk about the Xfinity race, even though it happened after the truck race, because I really think that's a perfect bridge. I really do. So we'll touch on Sammy Smith first, and then we can talk about the race as a whole. But
right, and also
Sammy
congratulations to Ricky Stenhouse Jr. We're not
oh yeah,
trying to.
yeah, good job,
Congratulations to
Ricky.
that entire team.
Good job, Ricky. He kept the car clean.
Right.
He did it clean. He didn't wreck anyone. He wasn't the cause of any wrecks. He wasn't caught up in anything, and it paid off. And JTG Doherty won the Daytona 500. That's massive for them. Like I'm like, it might just be because Logano didn't win. As bad as that sounds.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but I don't know.
Like, don't get me wrong. I don't hate Logano, but he just won a championship.
Right.
He's fine. He's fine. Is Ricky my first choice for the Daytona 500 winner? No, but I'm happy for him.
Right. Gotta be happy for it. Happy. As long as it's not Joey. At this point in time, in my opinion.
As a very biased fan, I will agree. But let's segue into Fontana. Let's talk about Sammy Smith. God, Sammy Smith, Sammy Smith had the fastest car.
He absolutely did.
Like John Hunter schooled him a little bit, because I know John Hunter got back behind him to clear some debris off because that was a big problem. And I'm not sure how that 20 didn't blow up in the last 10 laps, last 10, 15 laps or whatever.
Yeah.
But Sammy Smith had the fastest car. And that dude was on a rail.
He absolutely was. And it's a shame that he tried to go a bit too early.
Well, I think that's a very reflective of where he is. Because he's only 18.
Yeah.
This is going to sound bad, and I don't mean any hate towards anyone who's a fan of Sam Mayer when I say this, but he's like a peg up version of Sam Mayer.
Right.
Now, whether that be the equipment or the driver behind the wheel level, I can't really tell you. Not yet. I'm sure by July, we'll be able to okay, so-and-so, because I don't feel like it's fair to put Sammy above Sam after 2 races in his first full-time season.
No, not at all.
But they parallel a lot, I think.
Right. They have very similar backstories, and
they're both young guys who are driving for top teams.
Right. So that's trying to say, yeah.
So the natural thing is to compare the two. And if Sammy had run the kind of race that Sam Mayer did, he would have won.
Without a doubt.
I think that's the difference between the two currently. I think Sammy had the car, but was not able to put the full race together. I think Sam Mayer put together the full race, but just didn't quite have the car to beat the 20.
Right. And I feel like if the rules had been reversed and it was Sammy Smith chasing down John Hunter instead of Sam Mayer, Sammy Smith would have caught him without a doubt. And
probably wrecked both of them. No. No.
We won't get into that much, but
no, I don't think we're to that point of JGR infighting yet. I don't think we'll get there either, but
I don't think so.
No, it isn't Ty. God damn it, Ty. But
I still don't understand why he did that. It didn't matter in the long run, but
Jesus gets him, bud. But anyway,
Yep.
back to
I'm just.
back
I'm thinking
back to
about that.
Xfinity racing. Sheldon Creed is the early candidate for the save of the year.
I honestly think it is even going for. I'm saying that's the save of the year, regardless of what happens in the next 34, 35 weeks.
It's a long season. I am
It's a
also
very
going to
long
say.
season.
I'm also going to say that was the dumbest block I've ever seen in my life.
He went on. I don't know what's going on with
He
Josh Berry
blocked
this year.
across 5 lanes.
He was under the line by the time he actually got to.
The race wasn't even half over.
No.
Talk about not winning the race 20 to go. How about not winning the race with fucking 60 to go?
Right. It doesn't make any sense. Like, what's
Like, what are
going
you
on with Josh
doing?
Berry? I mean, he
Well,
got the
I'm
Bass
sorry.
Pro Shops on his car, and he's just acting like Noah.
Well, I'm sorry. Look, no, I don't even blame Barry. I would 100% do exactly what Barry did. Because I had to run. You can't block me to the infield. Not at Fontana. At Charlotte, yes. At Charlotte, that's a good block. Because the track is much more narrow. But at Fontana, where the track's like 8 lanes wide before you touch the white line, you can't do that.
Nope.
I like they said on DVC, Brett said that it's because Sheldon came from the truck series and that's how they race in the truck series.
What?
Yeah, that's what Brett Griffin said on DVC this week, is that Sheldon threw that block because that's how they race in the truck series. Which, I mean, it's not far off, but I think it might be a slight exaggeration.
Yeah, it might be
just a slight, but that's right. Brett Griffin, the greatest spotter to ever live. Oh God, I can't talk. But
he's coming for us.
Listen, I like DBC, but whatever. Anyway, Sheldon Creed gets save of the year so far. He also gets worst block of the year so far. And
yeah.
I'm sorry, if it was like the last lap or something and they were fighting for the lead, I could understand that block.
Yeah, but
they were racing for like what, 12?
Maybe even further back. I mean, I just don't get it.
I don't know. The Xfinity race was very good.
Very good. I think it has a lot to do with the commentary.
Oh, the commentary. Great. It was Adam Alexander, Blaney, and Logano.
Yeah. I kind of expected Blaney and Logano to be a little bit salty after not winning, but that was not the case at all.
No, they did good. I was kind of hoping they'd be up there announcing in their fire suits, but I guess you gotta have some class.
Right.
But they did well. It was well announced. The Cup race. Anything happened until the restart wreck that I missed because I didn't watch the first 90 laps.
Larson blew up on lap 12.
Did he actually blow up? Because I saw that he was back out there later.
He said he was blowing up, and then
how many times did he say that last year?
Right. But he went behind the wall. They fixed it was a mechanical issue at worst, and absolutely appeared like it was blowing up. So I can see why he said that. But other than that, not really. The restart wreck really hyped up.
Yeah, that was like where I tuned in. Was when they started showing replays of that. And
Kyle Busch got an early speeding penalty.
Yeah, so he got an early speeding penalty, and so did Suarez. Or Suarez a bit later.
I mean, they were about the same time, I think.
Okay.
Don't come after me, but
so the restart wreck's been talked to death.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
Absolutely.
And Again, listen to DBC. TJ said he looked at the SMT data, and Logano did not brake check the field. So take that for what you will. But I don't know.
I have no idea who would have done it then.
I think he went late, and people thought he went early, and it just accordioned because, of course, it did.
Right.
But so whatever. It was a good race. Chastain looked to have the car early, and then Kyle Busch took him to school.
Right. I mean, it wasn't even early. It was the first 160 laps. He was
the car
all day. He was the car. And then Kyle Busch
is just like, bye.
KFB.
KFB, baby. But no, I don't know. I'm glad that Kyle won. And God, saying that, if you would have told me that even 3 years ago, that I'd be happy that Kyle Busch won a race.
Right.
Oh,
I mean,
man, I'd laugh at you.
Yeah, and are we going to bring up the fact that the Short Track Auto Club, if it comes, is 100% going to be cursed by a dead cat?
I don't know about the cat. I don't know who hit it. Everyone's saying the consensus seems to be Blaney, but no one really knows. That poor cat.
I don't even know how it got there. I mean,
well, I guess the feral cats are a problem there. I don't remember who tweeted that, but someone did said, "Oh yeah, feral cats are just a problem here." Okay, and
the Auto Club Short Track is gonna be cursed. Woohoo!
Hey, Talladega's built on Indian burial grounds. That's fine.
Right. So I mean,
so we're fine. So Kyle Busch wins the Cup race. Chase Elliott finishes second, rebounding from getting bonked in the 500.
Yeah.
Hey, good run for them. Harvick ran top 5. Bowman ran top 10. Those are the two I care about the most. I don't know if you have a second driver, but
he ran over a dead cat. He's fine.
Or allegedly.
A live cat. I don't know.
It was either it was him, Harvick, or Bubba. I don't know which.
It would make sense if it was Bubba because that car was fast and then it wasn't.
Well, I guess, again, I'm sorry that I keep just referring to other people's podcasts, but I listened to Actions Detrimental and DBC today. I know, I listened to him Wednesday like a pleb, but then he said that the debris and the sandblasting and everything absolutely destroyed Bubba's car. It tore a splitter off. It clogged up it's what blew his engine. It was just insane.
Are you sure it's not that he lacks the talent?
Bubbles wall. No, we're not doing that. We're not even for a bit. I want to do things to those people that would get me banned from life.
Yeah, they're a special breed. Moving on.
Yeah, inbred.
I think it might be time for predictions.
Oh man, yeah. Okay. So, little disclaimer for predictions. We're going to predict everything for this weekend because F1 and IndyCar start this weekend. But full disclosure, I don't know much about IndyCar. I don't know much Billy knows about IndyCar, but I've only been watching full time since Jimmy went over there, and I'm still not all the way there on it. But I'm
not
trying.
Even close. Yeah. I started F1 about the same time, and I know way more about F1 than I know about IndyCar.
Well, F1, you only got to worry about 20 drivers.
That's true.
I mean, there's not many more in IndyCar, but really in F1, you only got to worry about 6 drivers.
Yeah. I mean, even if that.
So we'll get the easy one out of the way first. Let's start with our F1 predictions for the opening weekend. They're at Bahrain, right?
Yes, Bahrain.
Bahrain. Okay. Shocker. I'm going with Max Verstappen.
I see your Max Verstappen, and I honestly think it will be Red Bull, but I think it's going to be Sergio.
Oh,
Chico's
really?
going to go.
You're gonna go Perez?
I think I'm going to go Perez.
Ooh, spicy.
If Max lets him.
And Max lets.
I mean, I'm sure he wouldn't let him, like. But
okay. All right. We're all right. I just hope the Bahrain race is good. They usually have some pretty good pit strategy, like that makes it interesting. So that's what I'm hoping for.
It's a very interesting circuit. So
yeah, I think it's a very good circuit. It's fun to drive in the F1 games. I don't know if any one F1 circuit provides good racing as far as like what like Americans think is good racing.
right. Yeah.
I'm just hoping for an interesting race. So that means Red Bull needs to win by less than 25 seconds.
That might
less
be
than a pit stop.
Asking for a lot.
I know. Okay. So do you know where IndyCar goes this weekend?
I do, because it is in my backyard. Not literally, but
that's right.
St. Petersburg, Florida.
And that's the street circuit.
Grand Prix. Yeah, the Firestone Grand Prix.
All right. So I did know that. I just wanted to let you lead into bragging about being super close to it. Okay.
All right, I know.
So since I did my F1 pick first, I'll let you do your IndyCar pick first.
Like we were saying, we are not very – we know nothing. I mean, not nothing, but it's definitely not as much as F1 and NASCAR. So I'm just going to go for the repeat winner. I'm going with Scott McLaughlin. I feel like he goes back-to-back in the Firestone.
I like it. I remember St. Petersburg last year, and I remember that near the end, a certain Penske driver – I hope he's Penske. I hope I'm not fucking. So. A certain driver was catching with not enough time left to actually compete, but he went on to win the championship last year. I'm going to go with Will Power.
Oh, yeah. That's a great pick,
to redeem himself from last year, where he had a run late and he just couldn't catch him in time.
Nope. Not at all.
So. See, I know a little bit.
Right.
But anywho, let's move on to our Vegas predictions for the NASCAR touring series, the top 3 touring series. So we'll start with trucks. And I'm going to go out on a crazy limb here, like real wild limb here. And I'm going to pick an underdog in Kyle Busch.
I think Kyle Busch is going to school the field. 100%.
I think he's going to show that even though they changed the nose to a Chevy nose, that those trucks are still the best in the field, at least when Kyle Busch is behind the wheel. And he's going to take them to town, especially coming off the Fontana win. Okay.
Yeah, he's hungry for more. For Xfinity. I'm going to take Mr. Xfinity. I'm going to go out on another limb here. I'm going to say Kyle Busch is going to win Xfinity.
Man, that's crazy. I also picked Kyle Busch. And the 10 College car is going to come from the back because Austin Dillon couldn't keep the fenders on it. No, not actually. It's not his fault that Cole Custer decided to blow a tire.
That's also not Cole Custer's fault, but...
What are you talking about? You don't think Cold Mustard can control his tires going down?
Yeah, he got out. He sliced it.
He got out during the caution like Sterling Marlin and just poked holes in it. God, no. So, yeah, I'm going to say they're going to get Colliers going to give Kyle Busch the Dinger car, and he's going to come through the field and he's going to win his second race of the weekend. And to finish off with Cup, and I really badly want to pick Harvick. I really do. I mean, it could. It's just some bias showing through. I want to pick Harvick. My heart says Harvick. My gut says Bowman repeats, but my mind says that we better get those brooms out because Kyle Busch is going to sweep the whole damn weekend. That's my pick.
Oh, that's bold. I mean,
very bold. The Kyle
yeah.
Busch in an RCR Chevy that's shown to be really fast is going to be really fast.
Yeah, he's gonna driving for 3 different teams also, which is insane.
Yeah, that is true. It's not even. I didn't even realize it. Yeah, he's driving for KBM. He's driving for Colleague, and it's not even like 2JG. Wow, that's wild.
It's not
That would
even
be
RCR car and
yeah.
Xfinity.
That would be insane. Like I know he swept the weekend before. He's done it twice, but like, God, imagine if he did it in like 3 different teams. Wow.
Right, yeah. But my pick for the Cup Series this week is Steve Park. I mean Joey Logano. Joey Logano driving a Steve Park scheme. Kinda.
Hey, now the numbers aren't red.
No.
It's a waste. It's a waste of a paint scheme. The numbers aren't red. They didn't use all the space. You might as well just pack it up and ship it back to North Carolina.
There is a reason that those numbers cannot be red, and you know why.
If I say her name, is she going to sue us?
Oh yeah, without a doubt, the Wicked Witch of the South.
Wicked Witch of the Wicked Witch of Kannapolis, North Carolina.
I wonder who we could possibly be talking about.
Teresa Earnhardt.
She's also coming for us. We're gonna have a tough week with Brett Griffin and
Brett Griffin's going to come after us. So then, when we go to North Carolina and we drive past DI, she's going to shoot the tires out on her car.
Yeah, he's just going to be waiting, and once he sees us, then Teresa will also be there. Like, oh, there they are.
No, Teresa's going to shoot her tires out. Brett's going to fight us at the bar. Out.
Oh, brother.
So, yeah, I think that will about wrap it up. I don't know if this is going to be any good, but I think we did all right.
Right. For first time out, I feel like it's definitely
one of the podcasts. It's definitely one of the podcasts of all time.
It definitely 100% happened.
Yes. So anybody who happened to make it through what it's going to be like an hour and a half of this, I want to say thank you, and we appreciate you. And we're supposed to plug our social medias, which I don't know if you want to, Billy.
I mean, I will. It'll be on the Twitter, but it's at Billy Langan.
Okay. I'm JJ Turnup on literally anything. So, yeah. Thanks for listening if you happen to make it this far. And we will I haven't told Billy this, but we're going to see by the end of the season who ranks better overall in predictions. I think I'm going to be off to a very bold start. It's either going to go really well or really bad.
Really? Yeah, being the same person.
Listen, I really wanted to pick Harvick and I really wanted to pick Bowman, but I really want to see Kyle sweep. And the fact that I'm saying that, and the fact that I wrote a whole article of Kyle Busch propaganda. And it actually got published the day we're recording this. But yeah, God, I would smack me if I was 3 years ago. Me,
I know. It's like I texted my dad and I'm like, "Am I happy that Kyle Busch won? I think I am." He's like, "I am too. I hate this."
And I want it on record on here as well as everywhere else. I liked him before he left Toyota.
At the end of the run of Toyota, he definitely got more.
Yeah, after he won that Bristol dirt race, that's when I really was like, man, I kind of like Kyle.
I hate myself, but I love Kyle.
All right. We're going to wrap it up here. Thanks, y'all, for listening. And
Thank you guys for listening.
we will try to do this again next